We are going to learn how to synthesize a bass or kick drum sound from scratch. So a sound like the iconic bass drum sound of 808, how do we create that instead of using a sample of an 808 kick? So we know that the core of sound synthesis is having an oscillator. So I'm just going to create a sine wave oscillator, which is cycle. Now let's talk about the characteristics of a kick drum sound. We know that a kick drum sound is low in pitch, but also there is just a fast drop in that pitch. So it starts at a higher pitch and then it goes low. And then as far as the volume goes, it has a fast attack and then decays. So we have a decay in both volume and pitch. So we know that we can create this changes of pitch or volume over time with envelopes. So we can use a line object and function object together, and we need two. So I know that I need a pitch envelope and I also need a volume envelope. Let's talk about pitch envelope first. I'm going to create a function object. However, I'm going to give it an attribute called mode. And here you can see that function can have a mode 0, which is the default, which is in the linear mode, or we can give it mode number 1, which is the curve mode. So you can create curvy segments and therefore exponential or logarithmic functions. So writing function at mode space 1, when you hit enter, it just looks like the regular function. We won't know until we input in notes. The way that we can create those curvy lines is that when you create a line, then you can hold down Option or Alt and it gives you this arrow, and that way you can create a curve. So we said that there's a fast drop in pitch, so that's why I just don't want a straight line because that is not fast enough. Before, we used to use a line tilde object out of the function, but if I hover over the second output, I can see that it says all points in curve tilde format, and that's because we're not getting line segments, but we're getting curve segments. So no worries, just create a curve tilde object. Now, where do we want the output of this curve to go? Well, we wanted to change our pitch, and we know that the first input of cycle is where we can change the frequencies, where we can change the pitch, but this is just showing us a pitch envelope, not an actual frequency. So I still need an integer box to decide what my initial frequency is and then apply this envelope to that initial pitch frequency. So what I really need is a multiplication tilde object to multiply these two signals together so we can get that change in pitch and then send that to the first input of my cycle. And I also know that I need a button to be able to activate these envelopes. I'm just create a big button and send it to the input of my function. Okay, now that we have our pitch envelope, let's create our amplitude envelope. One really easy way to copy paste objects in Max is to select them and hold down Option or Alt and then drag that object, and it's just going to create a copy of that. So again, I know that I need a curve object, and this is going to be my amplitude envelope. So where do I want the output of my amplitude envelope to go? I want to multiply that with my initial volume through cycles. So we're just going to multiply these two signals together. Also, don't forget to send this button to the amplitude envelope as well. We want both of these envelopes to be triggered at the same time. Okay, let's lock our patch. And if I hit this button, I'm not hearing anything. That's because my initial frequency is 0. So I don't know, let's try 200 hertz. Let's try 500 hertz. And you can mess around with the shapes of these envelopes to really replicate the sound you're going for. You can see that a linear decay in pitch is not what we want. We want it to drop really fast. And you can change the initial pitch of the kick drum here in the frequency box. Alright, so we can further synthesize our sound by adding that snap of the kick. Snap of the kick is what it makes it cut through the rest of the sounds in the song. Easy way to create that snap is by a noise oscillator. And I'm not gonna create a fancy volume envelope for my noise. I know that I just want it to be super short, so I'm just gonna go with line tilde object. And I want a super fast sound, so I want it to go from 1 to 0 in only 10 milliseconds, so super fast. Connect that to my line object. Don't forget to connect your button to that message because we want all three of these envelopes to be activated at the same time. We just need another multiplication tilde object to multiply these two signals together, and we can add its own gain control so we can decide how much of that snap we want in our sound. And so I want to add these two signals together, plus tilde, add our body of our kick drum and the snap of our kick drum together, and I will run it through a low pass filter just because I don't want it to be too snappy. Take that output to our regular gain control. Let's hear how that sounds like now. So yeah, this is really the foundation of making any other drum kit sound. Same way you can create a snare sound, you just need a higher pitched sound and you just need more snap and more sizzle. And really easy way to create hi-hats is just with noise. So go ahead and try synthesizing some of the 808 sounds yourself.